Wunderschöne Hommage. Jetzt möchte ich eine sehr gut alte Freundin von Willy Melchior auf die Bühne bitten. Ich bitte um einen herzlichen Applaus. Maria Enders!
I never thought of my life in the film. I thought it's related to our history somehow. We didn't talk about Rendezvous that much. The only reference I would have is that it's in the script itself, that Olivier chose to write about this young actress, older actress who played in a play as a young actress, and the relationship between before and now. But that's really Olivier's, imagination and linking our history somehow into the film.
Nous vous écoutons.
Tu sais que le masque de la nuit est sur mon visage. Sans cela, tu verrais une virginale couleur colorer ma joue. Quand je songe aux paroles que tu m'as entendu dire cette nuit, mais adieu les cérémonies, même tu, je sais que tu vas...
It's universal in a way, because you're always in question with the past and thinking about, if you, as an actor, if you had success in at a certain time for a certain role, what relationship do you have with that? And I have to say, I myself don't have I'm not trying to hang on to the past. I'm not a clinging kind of person. I'm very much in the present. So the dilemma that my character Maria is going through is not my dilemma at all.
What's wrong with my acting?
Nothing.
What do I need to do to make you admire me? Do I think too much? Huh? Am I too classical? Not liberated like Joanne? You're here to talk to me, so start talking.
Because of the theme of that film, Sils Maria, which is about how do I create, how much do you see of that process? And it's fascinating because you wonder how from your, an experience of life, you become something bigger than yourself, higher than yourself. You use yourself, but yet it's not yourself. It's a higher place somewhere. So I've always been fascinated by it because it's what we've got to do in our lives, and when you chose an artistic kind of expression, it's even more your life, because you have to put that in question every time. And for me, what it is that how do I find the new? What is the new? So it means I have to let go of something of the past, something I know already, to go into the new. And it's not the beginning and the end. It's not between the beginning and the end. It's between the end and the beginning.
I read the script knowing that I wanted to work with Olivier and with Juliette, and that I knew a certain aspect of the story better than anyone really could possibly know. And that's like the slightly more surface aspects of it in terms of its comments on how unbelievably ridiculous and superficial an aspect of our business can be. And so I knew that amused me, and I thought that was funny and topical and just perfectly timed. And I had a Skype call with Olivier, and he was like talking to me. I went on and on and on about Valentine, and he just was quiet the entire time. And I was like, so what do you think? What do you think? I'm happy to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to meet. What's going on? And he was like, I've cast that role. I thought that maybe you would be interested in playing Joanne instead. And I was like, no, it's one thing to talk about exaggerated parallels in a, movie about so many other things, but it's a totally other thing to only do that. I didn't want to I didn't want to just sort of make a joke about paparazzi and, artistic integrity and being young and famous. That was funny to me and it was interesting, but I just think that the other part offered actually a larger mouthpiece for that. And then so much more.
It's written for me, but I don't feel it. I think it was written for Olivier. Because I do take it of the receiving of this film as, something special, personal, intimate, loving. But for me, that was my first impulse is to push Olivier. I felt on some hours that he was avoiding me, And I felt I didn't know him. I was not able to go close to him somehow because it was an ensemble film. So I felt like he was closer to his technicians, mostly male, kind of a man together more than his actors. And I was a little sad about it. I wanted to go back to a place where we left each other, which was what's happening? Why don't we do a journey together where we can know each other a little more? Because for me, it was too secure. Why don't we do something where you less in a secure place, where you feel a little more vulnerable? And I think the feminine part is more on this vulnerable place inside of us that men and women we have. So would you be interested in going to the feminine and having 3 characters and replacing roles so we have different points of view? So it was a kind of blurry idea, but it was kind of a sort of a breath of fire I wanted to give him so he goes into his feminine part.
There was something between these 2 women that I wanted to get to the bottom of. And I think probably only by the end of the movie did I realize that, I don't know, just the reason I was into it was because these women encompass almost every relationship that you can imagine having with a person in life. They're friends, mentors to each other, complete contemporaries, culturally entirely different people. I'm a mother to her. She's a mother to me. We're enemies. And so I just think that this weird duality that can occur between 2 women, like this competitive nature, yet this like innate love and care. It was just so that kind of all came to me towards the end. Whereas initially I just thought it was interesting to watch 2 women work.
Shall we stop here?
Sure.
Can you repeat Sigrid's last lines?
I like movies about movies. I like watching movies about people who do what I do, and the toll that can take on a person's sort of soul and life, and then also what it gives you back in return, and kind of how crazy it can make you. And just the idea of 2 women rehearsing a play about being ambitious but conflicted, struggling women. There were just so many sides. It was like a triple-y, double-y, it was an infinitely sided mirror. And I was just like, whoa, like, what is this?
I don't want anything. Stop. I can't stand that condescending tone of yours. You want to be clear? This can't go on. Whatever you say. I thought it over. It's finished. So I'll leave. No, you'll stay. You do your job well. I have no complaints.
It takes time to deep into the script and know what it requires from you. But then when I started working on it, I suddenly realized how much of a challenge it was for me. There are almost 3 characters in it. The first part is me, actress, resisting the present, resisting having matured and wanting to hang on to this beautiful image she has of herself, as an actress, the success, this bond she had with this director, that it belongs to her, the possession of it, and the power of it. Is really something she cannot let go of. Her aura that she thinks she has, she still has. So for me, it was very kind of fun to do, because there was a sort of a feeling of irony feeling about, what it is to hang on to your powers as an actor. I think it's stupid and ridiculous and human at the same time.
Anybody a bit sideways, please? Yeah, and if you stand chin up a little bit, please. Thank you. Great. Yeah.
Then there was the second part, which was more into the core of the play and really going through her emotions, her state, her fears, but facing it and being so pissed off having to deal with her own life.
I have too many memories of Susan Rosenberg and the disgust she made me feel when she was slipping into the skin of this defeated woman. She got such obscene pleasure out of it night after night.
Why defeated?
Defeated by age, by
You cannot
insecurity.
live as before. You have to change your attitude and to show as an actor the process and what it costs. You descending into the human stuff that it's hard to go into. I thought it was a good idea to cut my hair. Something kind of radical, because she has to face her devil. And her devil is her fear of losing power. And so I thought something radical. And also because there was this kind of, maybe it's a little simple, but this kind of, she's losing everything. So I thought, why not lose hair? And in this kind of, relationship with Valentine of kind of lesbian something. I thought it was a stereotype, but at the same time it would help maybe. And then the third part is when she suddenly the role is coming in her in sort of a tangible way, but you don't know how it came. But there's a moment that it comes in her, and that's what I love, because there's a mystery about acting, is that it comes to you as much as you came to it, but it comes to you, and the connection then is made. And that's why, for me, there's a scene that is so important, is the scene with Chloe Moritz's character. And when she said, if you could just give me that little time that I used to give to the actress who was playing that part, you would see my character better, understand better what happens in the play.
Well, you leave without looking at me, as if I didn't exist. If you could pause for a second. Helena's distress would last longer when she's left alone in her office. Well, the way you're playing it, the audience follows you out, but instantly forgets about her. So
my character get so appalled and disappointed, and yet, because of this new generation, because of this kind of oblivious to any kind of awareness of who you're working with or what you're doing with the other, she understands that she will not be able to change that. And because she cannot change it, she has to accept her condition and allows to grow and allows to be a mature woman and liberated, because that's what she gains at the end, is that she's losing power, she's losing everything, the recognition, she's being so humiliated, she's losing any kind of possession, she's in divorcing, there's no self-contentment, nothing's left.
Well, no one really gives a fuck about Helen at that point, do they? I'm sorry, but I mean, it's pretty clear to me this poor woman's all washed up. I mean, your character, right? Not you. And when Sigrid leaves Helena's office, Helena's a wreck, and we get it. It's time to move on. I think they want what comes next.
if you just held it a few seconds longer.
It doesn't really feel right for me, Maria.
You're right.
We felt so free within our realm, yet when you watch the movie, it's almost word for word.
You got under my skin. And I wanted to ask you to stay on and become my personal assistant.
She doesn't accept. I mean, she does accept. Without you only see a couple of sides of Valentine. And so there's like this transgression that happens, but I don't think that there's a whole lot of growth that you're too aware of. I think that you hope that she's grown from the experience, but that by the end of it, she ultimately just feels a little invisible. And in order, I think the way to have serviced that person is to, by the end of the movie, have the audience realize that she's invisible and want to know so much more. You should be constantly curious about this person, because it says a lot about the fact that she's able to subdue herself and focus on another. And So that's why, like, all the tattoos and the fact that I never changed my hair, I never looked different, I never ever looked different the entire movie. It's like she's a very consistent, sort of steady person. She's not the artist that Juliette's character is, but she is a facilitator and she's drawn to it.
He's here just to see you. The project doesn't interest me, okay? He's a great director. Just hear him out. You don't have to do it. He's probably the best of his generation. I know. We saw the same productions. I mean, if you'd like to go on chatting with the mayor and Henrik, you can be my guest.
No, thank you.
She has a really, really youthful perspective on things. She's not jaded at all. She's like incredibly open and like, you know, loves to be moved by basic emotion. Whereas, you know, when you get a little older and you've been hurt or, you know, you've been just like disillusioned by shitty things, Juliette's like, it's not so simple, trust me. And, you know, it's usually not so simple. But if again, it's perspective is a funny thing. It's depending on where you're standing.
You saw Sigrid's ambition and you saw her violence because you felt it in yourself. So that's what I'm saying. The text...
Looking at Juliette in the mountains sometimes and being like, I mean, I honestly could have been speaking to her. Just be like, you know, things aren't always as bad as you think that, you know what I mean? Like she, not to say she's remotely negative, but like when you think you've seen it all and you just sort of want to be able to say like, if you just took a little step back, I guarantee you might find the light in this. And like, that's a young kind of naive, sometimes annoyingly stupid perspective to have. You're talking to somebody who's sort of like, you know, seen more. But we should have that a lot.
We talked a lot about, you know, what she's going through and what she's been through, you know, as a star in America and young star. And there was, you know, a lot of sharing that way and with Chloe as well. And I had an assistant, you know, for 20 years. And so I know very well what kind of relationship it is. So there's a lot to talk about.
I don't know anymore. Maybe I only remember what suits me to remember.
Yeah, I think so. The story changes every time.
Bitch.
Because we come into life, you know, in our 20s, or young actors or young people into life with a lot of expectation. And then you go through, you know, the big phases of the themes of life, like jealousy, betrayal, needs, you know, everything, the joy and the deceptions and the depression, whatever you go through, you know, and that you learn your, you know, the piano tones of what's, you know, of ourselves. That's why, you know, to be somehow nude in the film was for me a great joy for me to be free. Because I stay a little chubby on purpose. Because it needed contrast, that she's not comfortable with the body, that she's frustrated. She doesn't look as, she's trying to, but she is not. But the acceptance of this allows you to liberate yourself. There's no other word.
When we shot that scene, Olivier was like, do whatever you want. Like, take your clothes off, don't take your clothes off. Just whatever you think you do. Just honestly, just go for a swim. And I was like, okay. And she stands up, she strips all of it. I'm like, of course. Of course you take that. But it's like, also really said a lot about like our age and like, you know, where we're from and whatever on a more surface level. But then I think that she might as well be wearing a parka. But yeah. But it's badass, and she's beautiful.
I don't think it's company figures that are keeping you up at night.
What's keeping me up then?
Desire. For me, I think. I noticed it the second you hired me, and I'm sorry, but I've had fun playing with it. You've let me play with it.
Fun? What a strange word. Not what I was expecting. Oh, this text is impossible.
Oh my God.
I think that their like mutual admiration for each other runs really, really deep. And so I think that there's something about her cutting her hair and going up to the mountains that's like, I'm scared for her. I mean, yes, she looks somewhat empowered and she's about to play a part that is not overtly feminine and strong and sort of just more ambiguous because she doesn't want that to define her. But it did. The choice of that does. It's so pointed. It's like, I'm going to chop all my hair off and I'm fine. And so I was like worried for, you know what I mean? Like that, I was always like, she's such a strong person. And I always talk about how powerful she is, but she's a really, really precious little thing. And it's, you know, I've found that with a lot of, you know, with a couple of sort of more important female figures in my life is that they're very strong, but they're protecting something really delicate.
Clouds. I played Sigrid in Mallory Snake when I was 18. For me, it was more than a role.
When she's beautiful and long-haired and in the dress and everything like that, it's like, it's she really does have a lot of armor on, even when she thinks she strips it down. There's really only a couple moments in the movie where she looks so, like, genuinely, her, like, just you know, without some shroud. And that's why it's so good. Like when you see those moments, you're like, oh, she's feeling like it's, you know, it's impressive. You can't lie in the presence of it. You know, my reactions to those things were all incredibly real because I feel like I know her. I know that person. No.
Please stay. I need you.
You know, the time I take on before shooting depends totally. Some films, Elle, for example, I didn't learn my lines, so I didn't rehearse at all. I went through the script with the journalist because I wanted to make sure that some of the language was accurate. But it depends on the process. For this one, because I was shooting every day, it was not my language. And the challenge of it was big for me. I don't know how long, you know, that Olivier didn't want me to work with a coach, language coach. So I thought it was difficult for me because it's not my language and the way of speaking is very different in the emphasizes and all. So I found an assistant that was, you know, helping me, Lara, and she turned out to be my language coach, but she has no professional, you know, kind of how do you say, ability, training for it, but she played the game, you know, and what she could hear, you know, she would correct me. That was tough for me.
How happy they are to grant you what they never granted me. Using you.
Kristen came like 2 days before shooting, and one day we rehearsed together. I was suggesting because I used to rehearse and I could feel that it was not her thing.
I ran away from her constantly whenever she was like, let's run lines. I was always like, okay, cool, I gotta go to the bathroom. I just, yeah, she had this really wonderful young actress assistant on the movie, How Very Meta, to run lines with her. And they had a really interesting relationship as well.
Okay, this is the armchair. Office door. Desk. Okay, go ahead.
She ran lines constantly. She was just going over. She works. That's one thing that Juliette does is she works very, 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 very hard, which is probably why she is so confident. And she has this like this, you know, most actors, you can see their tool belts. Like you can see, they have like little things that they know how to do. She is literally, it's like she has every minute of her life stored on the surface of her skin and she's ready to just go, I know that, boom. Oh, I've been there, boom. And I think maybe the way she does that is because she works, she prepares, she works really hard. Whereas maybe I'll get there as I get a little bit older, but I'm so scared of rehearsals can be so stultifying. So they can just be so, for me, they can just strip something of why I'm curious about it. Everything, my first instincts, not that I think that they're so fantastic, it's just the only ones that I trust. And so then if you give me any time to think about it, I feel like we've missed something. So I never wanted to run lines with her. I was like, get away, no, get, shh.
Ready? You ready?
Yes!
Don't lie to me. You received a confirmation for a flight to Tokyo.
You're reading my mail now? Aren't you ashamed?
I haven't felt shame in a long time. I went through all your desk drawers, your notebooks, and I'm doing it because you want to leave me.
I like danger, and I like to not know, because it allows surprises. It allows to find as we're going. So sometimes it would just place her, ourselves, roughly. The only difficulty I encountered is that sometimes the DP would have to change the light because he didn't, he had a reflection in a mirror or a reflection in a window or something. So he would have to stop the shooting as we would start, doing one take after. So the process of it was a little uncomfortable sometimes, because as you start to get going as an actor, you want to repeat and repeat and repeat, because there's something in the repetition that brings you letting go, you're abandoning yourself. So that's the interesting of that process of not knowing, and yet you're discovering and you're adapting yourself with the time of it. But other than that, I always like that, and that's why when I work with Hao Xiaoxian, who doesn't, there's only one take, there's no rehearsal, there's no dialogue, the DP doesn't know where he's going to be shooting. You just know that you can supposed to go maybe there, and you have to have the thoughts. You need to give in the scene. But I mean, that was really the extreme on not knowing, and I enjoyed it so much because it's like being children again. And so I think Olivier was very inspired by this kind of process, which I think is, and we talked about it with Olivier, this Taoist, kind of, you let things happen. So directing becomes about letting things come to you more than you saying, well, you do this, you do that, which can be coming from the head and not genuinely from the sort of a genuine place, mysterious, physical kind of strange place, but that which has its truth.
It's fucking powerful. Oh my God, I hate you sometimes so much. You're making my head spin.
And Sargon, you find him interesting too.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, good.
No, Sargon sucks.
So with Olivier, the journey he was laughing all the time. I have to say that myself, you see how joyful I get, because it's probably because there's some truth of our lives, but also because we're ridiculous also. I mean, I feel for us, but at the same time, we, in a way of holding on to things and not trusting ourselves, there's a sort of compassion you have to have.
I feel like the best directions from the best directors I've ever gotten is always just like, think faster. You know what I mean? If you want to be true to him, you have to be there. Hello. To be honest with you, he didn't really talk to us a whole lot. It was always more of a feeling. It was like you could look over and that you're not alone, but he's not going to tell you how to feel, and he's not going to tell you what you should think about it. He wants to see what you feel and think about it. A really, really, really talented director is always one that can sort of make you forget that you're making a movie, and that there is no expectation that whatever it is going to be the reason that we're there. It's really like more of a meditation rather than packaging and delivering ideas to people. It's about having them and capturing them. And it was always as if he didn't know necessarily what he'd written and he had given it to us to discover, which is ridiculous, because I find that I look back on it in retrospect and I see all of these little mines that he planted, that he knew that we would run into. And like whether they exploded and were beautiful or exploded and were scary and weird, they were placed there by him. You know, you don't have to keep me on if you find my ideas simplistic.
What makes you say that?
There were just things as we traversed this like slippery mind path where all of a sudden I'd be like, you just really offended me. And I just didn't know that that was going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, she would really piss me off. And then, like, she would become, like, incredibly, desperately emotional. And I'd be like, what am I doing are you okay? What is happening? Have I offended? Like, so, but all of those things are, if I feel like if you went back and read the script, if we didn't naturally find those things, it wouldn't be the movie that it is. And it was written. It actually was written. I just missed it somehow. I just didn't see it somehow. Fuck. This scene where I leave the living room and have to go into the bedroom because I actually need to interrupt this moment because it's just not where I want to go. I had no idea that they had this like sort of deeper fascination for each other at all. And Olivier just sort of always has this like knowing kind of like cat that ate the canary look in his face. He's like, I'm proud of you guys. That was good. That was good. Because by the end we were like, what was that?
Try. Maybe you'll manage to persuade me. I'm exhausted. I don't know. I don't have the energy. Okay. Good night.
Also, you would think that you would extend that bedroom scene, that you would stay with Valentine for a second, that you'd see her like slap herself in the face and lay down and whatever, but it wasn't. It was always just like, he just called cut so quickly and then left us spinning. Do you know what I mean? It was always like, wait, what was that? And he's like, I don't know. Let's do the next scene.
You want to surprise the other, you know, and in my case, it was mostly Valentine, you know, Kristen's character that so that was a sort of a two lionesses being, you know, just eyes in eyes, and how far it's gonna go, you know, how far. That was the game of it, and that was the joy of it. So somehow we were very concentrated during the shooting, but there was a lot of joy because we didn't know what was going to happen.
When word gets out, it's going to be like a tsunami.
Oh, yeah. On their planet.
Their planet has a name. It's called the real world. Welcome.
There's some kind of love that you've got to share on a certain level. And for me, that was that she has to blossom, you know, to reveal herself. And I think Olivier I could see he was often, you know, on the floor with this little TV monitor and checking, and he was like, you know, like a ball over this monitor thing, and like you know, giggling. He was like having orgasm watching the two girls getting mad at each other.
I find that all of his stuff has this like curious movement, and when we started shooting, it made total sense. He would literally build a dance floor for the dolly to move around us. There was like continuous living, withstanding periods of time where we would be like dancing with each other in the camera. There's this uninterruption, even though it's quite controlled. You know, Juliette and I could very easily sit quite still and be taken with each other in a way. He had to get us up on our feet quite often. And to be honest with you, I don't always necessarily know why. I think it's there's like, he has this frenetic energy, and I think that he gets bored unless you're moving around. And it was nice to be able to not like fall into things. I think there's a pace. He's a quick thinker. I think that you need to keep up with him. You need to keep him engaged. And I think the movement is a huge part of that. And like, you know, I say that we danced around each other because, you know, even conceptually in this movie, we're constantly, the two of us are just like dancing around each other and trying to find each other's rhythm and pattern.
Val? What the hell are you doing? Val? Val? Val?
I think that ultimately she leaves because she understands that it as much as they're both getting out of each other, it's a somewhat destructive relationship. I think that she doesn't feel good around her all the time, and so that just becomes wearing. And to be constantly trying to prove something, and not for prideful reasons, but for true desire to connect, is exhausting. And I think at the end of the day, she just chooses herself, finally. I think that at the end of the day, she just goes, if you haven't heard a word that I've said this entire time, maybe you'll hear this. See ya. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I always thought about it. And I think that she thinks it's probably good for her too. I think that she's a fairly selfless person. And I know that in itself, that choice to choose yourself sounds selfish, but I think it's for the both of them. It's just for the greater good. It's like, I think that she can see, there's a codependency that's unhealthy and probably freaks her out a little bit. And I think she just got in a little bit too deep and then went, thank you for what you've taught me, goodbye. And I imagine definitely, like, I'm kind of like this is like kind of cheesy and like a little overtly sentimental, but I imagine that like at the end, you know, Valentine like kind of sneaks into the back of the theater and is like, I gotta see this performance, man. I have to see what this turned out to be. And then before it's over, she's like, I don't want to see her soaking in her glory.
You know, in films, in life, because you want to know the others as well as you want to know yourself. And the best way of knowledge is to somehow have an adversary area, not an enemy, but a place where you don't feel totally comfortable, because it allows you to really lift yourself into another place. You know, when you share a film, there's nothing like it. That's why I didn't want to be on my own, you know, just painting and doing my own stuff, you know, in my little corner. Making an art form together is the most difficult thing, but when it's possible, it's the most joyful thing.